Hey guys, AlexAutomotive here, and before we start this video, I'd like you to hit the subscribe button and hit the like button if you like what you see. But today, we will be doing a front brake job on a 2018 GMC Sierra 2500 HD. This is a 6.6 turbo, and what you want to do first is loosen up all the lug nuts, and if you have a wheel lock key, make sure you loosen that with like a breaker bar or a ratchet, because you don't want to use impact on it because you don't want to strip out the wheel lock key. But once you got these all loosened, you want to lift the car up. So I have my jack right here, and I lifted mine off of the front engine cradle, and I had to use brakes to get up a little bit higher. And then I have a jack stand up front just to make sure I support the car and it won't fall or hurt me or hurt the car if something were to happen. So once you got all those loosened, you want to grab your wrench to finish taking them off, lift the car up, and then I'm going to get this wheel off and I'll show you what to do next. Okay, so once you get all 8 of the lug nuts off, make sure you put them in a safe area to where they won't go anywhere, they won't fall anywhere, and so they stay safe. But if your tire is stuck on, you can go behind it and hit the rim with just a soft rubber mallet. You'll knock it off. Mine comes off pretty easily. So just want to lift it up and slide that out of the way. I always like just to wheel mine away from the car and just out of my work area, so I'm not gonna hurt the rim or the tire as I'm performing the job. Now that we got the tire off, we're gonna start removing the caliper and the brake piston itself. So what you want to do, so you got a 21 millimeter right here, you got a 21 millimeter down here. You want to remove those, and then you got a T55 for the slide pins. You can see that. I know it's a little bit dark. You got one right there, and you got one right up here. You want to remove those. And then once you remove the guide pins, this will slide up, and you can just set it like right up here, out of the way. And then you can finish removing your T21 or your 21 millimeter right here and here. And then this bracket will slide out of the way. So let me remove my slide pins, and then I'll get back to you. Okay, so once you get your slide pins out, I have mine right here on a paper towel so they don't get dirty. And before we put them back together, you see all that like black gunk in that? That's the old grease. We are going to remove that grease and we're going to add more grease. But as you can tell, I got them off. I pried my caliper back a little bit to just press these pistons back. I know it's kind of hard to see them at the moment, but you're going to have to press those pistons back that are in there, and then you can get this caliper off. So once you press those out, you have to wiggle it. There's the caliper. And I like just setting mine out of the way so nothing happens to it. But now we got our pads and our caliper bracket. So we can take these pads, we gotta just sit there and pry them out. So grab my pry tool, and I can just pop the outer pad out, and then sit here, do the same for the inner pad. Yep, and then both pads came out just like that. So now what I'll be doing is taking this 21 off and this 21 off, and this bracket will come off. So I'm going to do that for you, and I'll be right back. Okay, so now that we got our caliper bracket off, which is right here, so it came with these just clips to hold the pads in to make sure they don't slop around in here. Make sure when you get your new brake pads, it comes with new hardware. If not, you can clean it up if this hardware is not too terribly damaged. So how to clean this up is you'll grab a wire brush, you'll take off the hardware, and you'll clean up any rust or just any old grease that is on this hardware. But the reason I'm replacing these brakes today is that the rotor has this little ridge right through it. I don't know if you can tell, but there's a little ridge on this side, and there is a rusty ridge on this side. And what that does, it will cause the brake pads to actually start making a squeaking noise, and you'll hear it at a very low stop, or when you come to like a drive-through or anything where it echoes off the wall. So that's why we're replacing these today. So now I'm going to get the new parts, and I'll get right back to you. Okay, so I have my new parts here. I made sure they were the right size. So here are the old pads, here are the new pads. I put them up to each other and actually made sure like all the slots lined up for where the pads go into the caliper bracket. I grabbed the rotor, make sure it will slide on to the actual hub, and it does great. So, to get the rotor off the car, you got this little T30 right here. They install this into the factory just so when they're manufacturing the car, the rotor doesn't fall off on the line. So what you do is you take a T30 bit, just unscrew that, and then this rotor should come off. Every once in a while, it'll get rusted onto the actual wheel bearing. So you can grab the hammer and just hit like the outside edge of this. Make sure you don't hit it right here because you don't want to damage the wheel studs. Because if you damage one of these, you'll have to remove them, or you would have to grab like a thread fixer and go through and fix each one of these that are damaged. So I'm gonna get this rotor removed, and I will see you when it's removed. So now that I got the T30 out, my rotor was kind of stuck on, so I just grabbed my ball peen hammer, smacked it right there, and now my rotor can come off. So just like that, my rotor came off, and as you can tell, the hub is a little bit rusty, so I'll just take my wire brush as I'm cleaning off my caliper bracket, which is right here. So I'm going to clean that off, I'm going to clean that off, and then I'm going to wipe down these two side pins, and then I'm going to just clean off my T30 a little bit because there's a little bit of rust behind there, and get that all cleaned up. So I'm going to clean it all up, and I'll show you what guys to do next. Okay, so once you clean everything up, you get the new rotor, you put it back on, you put your T30 back on, and then you just grab a paper towel, go around the edge, clean up any of your fingerprints, and just make sure you clean up any grease that was in the package when the rotor showed up. And once that's all cleaned up, I will show you how to put the brakes and brake pads back together. Okay, so now we added our new hardware that came with my pads. And we put back our two 21mm bolts. We have tightened them and torqued them down to the manufacturer specification. So now we're gonna ready to install our pads. So what you wanna make sure you always do is when you have your new pad, grab some brake pad paste and always add it just a little bit to each one of these ends. When you go, once it's added, you put the pad in on both sides, you line it up, and it'll snap in just like that. Now that pad is installed, but you always gotta make sure, because these two pads come with these little metal tabs. That one doesn't have it, but like this one has it. And that one is always the inboard pad. So it always goes in just like that. The reason why they put the metal tab on the inboard pad is because this one wears a lot faster than this one, because the inboard pad takes the pressure of the piston. So once you grease up both sides, install your new pads, you'll be ready to put your caliper back on. So I'm going to grease these all up, snap these all in, and I'll show you how to compress the piston and degrease the slide pins and install that. So I'm going to get to this, and I want you to stay tuned. Okay, so now we got our pads on, both inboard and outer pad are both on, and now we have the caliper itself. So this is a dual piston caliper, sorry, my bad. And it has two of these that you're supposed to press back evenly, but the way I do it is I grab a big thing of channel locks, and if I do it that way, it's only going to press one at a time, which could damage the actual caliper itself. So what you're going to do is you take your old pad, you put it like right here, kind of backwards, to where you can get it to press the piston back in evenly. So I'm going to press that back in. I'm going to install it back here on my freshly new pads and rotors. And then I'll show you how to grease up the guide pins and which guide pin is top and which guide pin is the bottom one. Because as you can tell, one has a little washer to it and the other one is nice and smooth. And these are both cleaned up because I did them as I was cleaning up the actual bracket for the caliper. So I'm going to get these all cleaned up. I'm going to put this on, and I'll show you which is top caliper guide pin and which one's the bottom caliper guide pin. Okay, now I got the pistons on, and I got the dust boots where they should go. I got one there, and then let's see, one right there. So this piston, or this guide pin with the washer goes up top. So I added my little brake pad paste to this, and then I'm going to guide it into this hole. Make sure you don't get any brake pad paste on your finger, because you could cause it to spread everywhere. So get it right in here. And then you gotta pick up the caliper itself, and you have to guide it up so it lines up with the actual slide pin threads that are in the bracket. So I'm gonna get that in, I'm gonna get that bottom one in, and I'll show you what the finished product or final product looks like. So now we got everything back together, we got everything nice and tight. So what you wanna do is always make sure you put your slide pin boots back on the slide pin. So I'll be doing that here in a second. But once you get that done, everything nice and tight, always make sure you go back to make sure everything's tight. That way nothing falls off. Because you don't want to be stopping and all of a sudden your brakes stop working. That could end up very, very badly. So once you get everything done, you put your tire back on, you put your 8 lug nuts back on, and always make sure you torque those as well. Because you don't want your wheel falling off. But that is how you install front brakes on a 2018 GMC Sierra 2500 HD. So if you like the video, please hit the like button, and if you could, hit the subscribe button. It would be at one of these quarters. I just gotta figure out where to put it. But if you could, I'm trying to reach 500 subscribers, so if you could help me out, it would be greatly appreciated. So if you like the video, just hit the like button and subscribe. I'll see you next time. Thank you.